Okay. Can you tell that? Can you, can you tell that I'm talking? Oh, that's way too loud. Okay. I'm gonna go turn it down a little, and then we'll formally start. Is it coming through? Okay. Well, we're just gonna hope for the best. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started tonight. I have a couple announcements real quick I want to mention, and then as you can see tonight is our Honduras trip from last week recap. And so we'll have some pictures and some info, and then also the rest of our team, or most of us, because one of us is out tonight. They'll come up and we'll get to share some thoughts and some stories. But first, just so you can be mindful and be praying, and we'll put it on the prayer list here in a minute when we get to the prayer portion. A lot of our youth, I think there were 16 that I counted, are at Super Summer this week. And Jonathan is there as a leader, and Emma Fullen are there as a guy and girl leader. And so be praying for them. They're halfway through the week. I talked to Jonathan today, and he said it was going really well. And he was especially encouraged and blessed by our students. So apparently, this is new to me. At the end of each day, they then have you meet with your own church, and you talk about how the week is going. And he said he's been so encouraged by the faith and the maturity of our students that we sent. So he just spoke so highly of them. So that was really encouraging. Also, if you didn't know, now you know, our Honduras team is back. Hungry team is in the air right now. Yeah, so I texted with them right before they left, and Brian sent me a picture of them smiling and happy. So it's Brian and Chuck Childers and Lynn Spears are heading that way. What time? How long of a flight is that? How many? Forever? Okay. Woof, okay. Long. Okay. Yeah, that's it. It's long. That's why he said forever. Yeah, so be praying for their flight, and then when they land, and then when we get to prayer portion, we're going to pray specifically for them tonight, but pray for them in the week that they have ahead and the good work that they're going to get to do. So very, very, very excited. Lastly, kind of a special need has arisen. We are still gearing up to go to send our kids to youth camp this summer in a couple of weeks, first week of July. And there are some kids that are still, some families that are still kind of finishing paying off, and some I think need some help. And so if you are interested, there's no pressure, but if you're interested in helping support specifically kids going to camp, if you'll come talk to me or Melissa after the service, we can talk to you about how you can maybe contribute towards that and help some kids go to camp. So the last announcement I have, and then we'll get into it tonight. Actually, two more announcements. Tonight is business meeting night. So after this, and then after prayer meeting portion, we'll go into our monthly business meeting. And then lastly, just a reminder, if you've not already grabbed one and or filled it out, the sign-up survey, if you will, for committees and service groups for the new year, that form is out there in the foyer, and it should have every information that you would want. But if you do have questions about that, let us know, and we'll talk you through it. And the reminder is we want to, as best we can, get as many people involved in meaningful ways as we can, but there's not infinite space. So there's only a set amount for each committee, and there's only openings every year, only a couple, but we try to rotate people in and through. And so if you haven't served on one before and you're interested or you feel led, we're working on it. But service groups are much more open and are always in need of people to serve. So keep praying through that and fill those forms out and get them back to us. The deadline is Not this Sunday, but the next, the 29th. So that's it. Okay. Mission team. So Gene and Deborah and Sonny, if you will come up here with me, please. I have microphones that y'all can share. I'll just keep this one. And then as you feel led, as you have a comment, and we see everything they see, so you don't necessarily have to turn around. It's back there for us too. Here you go. Y'all want to share this one?
Sure.
Okay. And you can have your very own. I know you're excited about that. Yeah, boys on this side and girls on that side. So I'm going to give an overview of just to get us started, and then what we're going to do, we've put slides together. This is not everything. We can't obviously put every picture in that we want to, but I do want to put this as a teaser. The pictures we include, we tried to be intentional about including people, because we've told you names, and hopefully you can learn faces, but also kind of some spaces. As you see, this was taken by Ethan. He was our 5th member. He's one of our students, our high school students, but he's at Super Summer this week. He took this picture, and this is the village that we go to, and you see this looks like a postcard. It is that scenic and beautiful up in the mountains. But part of what we're doing is to give you kind of an update and a report on what we did and how it went, and then part of it too is hopefully to get you thinking and praying about how you might support or even go yourself next year. So these are kind of like teasers, okay? All right, Melissa, if you'll go to the next page. Do you want to talk through the schedule of what we did? This is an overview of our week.
Yeah. On mute? Oh, no.
You're good, yeah.
Okay, good, yeah. So this is the overview of our schedule, how we did the week. Saturday was just a full day of travel. We leave early in the morning. How early was it, Deborah? Oh, you didn't join us. Yeah, she flew out of DFW. We drove to Houston, and we were there by 7 a.m.
We left the church at 2:30 a.m. It was early, yeah.
Yeah.
We did, and it gives us some flexibility, especially coming back. So there's a method to the madness. It works, yeah.
But it is madness.
Yeah.
And then we fly to Honduras, and that's about a 2.5-hour flight. And we wait in the airport for a couple of hours, maybe hour and a half, something like that. And then we drive to Gracias, which is about 4.5 to 5 hours. So it was a full day. Sunday we went to the village. We did a prayer walk with the church. All of these will have pictures later on. Monday we did more home visits. We go and we're trying to have a 5-year partnership with this church there in
San Lucas.
San Lucas Village. San Lucas. And so what they ask us to do is how we can partner with them is go on home visits. So we spend a lot of time with home visits, and you'll see some faces and names and homes later on. Tuesday we went to the school in the morning. We had some more house visits. We had a children's day. We asked what we could do to help them, and they said you can run a little carnival or something for playing with the children.
Yeah.
So we had a whole bunch of chaos. Then we did some more house visits. Wednesday was our last full day working there, and we did our testimonies on the radio stations, which you'll see. And then there was sort of a free time with the hot springs. Thursday was the full unraveling back of the 5.5-hour car drive, 2.5-hour flight, and a 4-hour car drive, and we got back at
1:30, yeah.
So, yeah. Fun.
But it's good. And it's character building and team forming. And I will say, and I am biased because I love getting to go, but we had a really, really great team this year again, and no real issues. I mean, the trip itself is challenging in its own ways, but interrelationally, and y'all can speak to this or tell people privately otherwise maybe, but we had a really good team and a really good mix of just everything. It was such a blessing. And so even like exhausting travel days were good company. And so that's kind of part of it too. Not just the work we do while we're there, but the work the Lord is doing in us and amongst us with each other is really beautiful and powerful. And I'll tell you more about that later in the week. But
so I'm going to immediately betray your trust.
Okay.
Okay. We have a lot of time to talk and to visit and to get to know each other and our hearts and what we want and what we're praying for and what we're looking for. And a lot of just random conversation. So one of the random things that we talked about is, what's your favorite food? What was Aaron's favorite food?
What was my favorite food? What did I say?
Fruity Pebbles.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, cereal. Cereal.
That was told you in confidence, and now you're telling the whole church that I
That's
eat
a
like a
lot.
child.
So
Yeah.
now you know what to get into Christmas.
I do want to say real quick
Please.
that as we go through this, I really want you to feel a part of this because it makes a huge difference when the church supports the people that are doing the walking. You know, it's huge. And so I want to tell you, when we tell them, you know, we're New Hope and they know us as New Hope, and just thank you for the support that you give to missions and the support that you've given our team. And I know the Hungry team as well. And, you know, and I think that you need to feel a part of that because they always, did you get to show them a picture of our church this year? No. They always ask for a picture of our church. And Sonny hadn't gotten that together yet, but no.
Next year. We'll bring it next
We
year.
do. We
Yeah.
need to get one, so a really good one.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you can kind of pull it up online if you.
Good. All right, will you go to the next slide, please? You want me to talk us through this one? Let me talk us through this one, and y'all can chime in as you have comments. So this was Sunday, so we had traveled all day Saturday. Sunday morning we got up. If you can tell that top left picture, some of the missionaries that work with the ministry, a little better there. You just squint, it's all there. Host a church on Sunday mornings in their home. And so we've never normally been there on a Sunday. So this year we got to be there on a Sunday morning. And so we went to church at their house, got to worship together, got to pray together, study God's word together, which was really, really great. And then from there we had lunch at our hotel. And this is all in the base town of Gracias, Honduras. And then the village that we partner with is an hour away up in the mountains. And so after lunch, we went up to the village, and we started making some home visits. You see those top two middle slides? These are taken just right outside the church. Again, we're up in the mountains, and everything just grows. Yeah, it's unreal, and a picture doesn't do it even remotely justice. But we got to talk, as you see top right. This is actually the pastor of the church. His name is Pastor Lucio. This is his home, and so we got to spend some time there at his house and talk with some of his family. Bottom left there, you see Sonny, and then on either side of Sonny are three of some of their main leaders. A young man named Adonai, a man named Melvin, and then on the right, a guy named David. And so these are like deacons in their church, and David helps lead worship. And in that bottom middle, if you can squint hard enough, that's me, and our translator, a different David. And so they had a worship service that Sunday evening, and I got to preach at that service, which was just a blast. I enjoy doing that every year. And so very, very encouraging. First full day. Yeah. And I wasn't sure. They told me to prepare a sermon for the Tuesday night service, and then I showed up Sunday, and they're like, hey, are you preaching? I'm like, oh, yes, I will. And I prepared just in case that came up. That's just part of how it works. God did know. Yeah, so it went really well. The days, as you can see, are really full. And so we have slower mornings, especially on the front end. They designed that because they know your travel day was hard. Kind of a slow start because once you roll into the week, you're moving and you're going. And there's pockets for rest. They're intentional about that. I want to make sure that we get taken care of. But they want you to be fresh and intentional. So when you're with the people, you're really with the people. Because this is a big part of why we go and how we go and why we partnered with this ministry. Because it's not just about us going and doing tasks and going and doing work. We are doing things, and we do absolutely, we'll talk more about this in a second, directly get to share the gospel with people, but it's all couched as best we can in relationships. So the church doesn't just bring us in and then just like kind of throw us out there to do circus tricks. We come alongside and support what that church is already doing and the ministry that it makes to its community. The fact that we're there gets people's attention and can draw them to the church, and so we can support them in that way. And when we make house visits, we're special guests, and that shows them honor, but also can open doors for the pastor to continue the work that he was already doing, and then to follow up after we leave. And so we get to supplement and support and encourage the work that they already have going on. And so it's really intentional how they structure that, and that's why we're intentional about going back every year, trying to build on that foundation. Did you have a comment? It looked like you were about to jump in. No, none.
I want Gene to talk about what a house visit is in Honduras.
Okay.
Sorry.
A house visit is similar to what a house visit in the United States is. We are given the name of a person, and maybe we're told that they're not coming to church now. Not sure of the reason, they're just not coming to church. So we go and encourage and talk with them and share. Or it could be that one of the ladies has had arthritis and can no longer walk to church. So our house visits, and the reason we go, are just like they would be in the United States. We go to church members. I believe every house we went to was connected to the church. And we would talk and visit, and usually we would find more than one generation in the house. There would be at least 2, if not 3 generations. So that gave us an opportunity, and it's, you know, it's just like God had prepared it ahead of time, because as we got there, it wouldn't take very long for the conversation to get that direction where we could share something about our church, share something from the Bible, or just some experience that we had that was very similar to what they're going through. So God definitely prepared the way for us.
These visits last an
Hour,
and a half,
hour and a
2 hours.
half.
They last as long as they need to, is what we were told.
They need to. It's
Yeah.
not just pop in, we miss you, we love you, let's pray
Yeah.
and go. No, we visit.
And some, go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say, one of the things with that is, that I really appreciate there is, and you think of like here, a house visit, somebody might come out and talk to you on their porch, and you just stand there for a while, you know, which is fine too, but they're very welcoming. This picture that you see up here on the right, like you said, that was the pastor's wife, but she did not expect us to be there. And she brought out chairs for everyone. She insisted that we sit down. And every house that we went to, last year and this year, they would do that. They bring out chairs for everyone. They insist that the missionaries sit down. They insist that we sit there and talk. Sometimes they offer us coffee or, you know, something. You know, so we had a lot of different things going on in our house visits this time. But they're super welcoming, and whether they expect you there or not. You know, and so I think that that's just a wonderful thing about the people in Honduras.
Yeah.
They just love for you to be there,
Yeah.
whether they knew it or not, you know.
And
Yeah.
also, if we're on the porch talking to them and the neighbor sees you, they come on over. And if a neighbor comes down by the side and they see you, they just stop in. It's all okay.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a picture of that here in just a second, and we can tell you about it. And on the one hand, that's just like, that's human nature. If someone pops in, you're like, oh, who are these folks? I don't know them. I mean, it's a small village. Everyone knows everyone. And we don't look like they look, so that stands out. And so people are curious. But also, as you'll see in just a moment, it's not an accident that the people showed up who showed up, because they had needs, and they needed to be prayed for, and they need to be encouraged from the Lord. And we're like, well, that's why we're here. What a coincidence it is. But part of what it makes the home visits special and unique and challenging at the same time, and that's why they can last just however long they need to last, because the initial like introduction is small talk. We're being pleasant, we're being polite. There's a translator, so that slows everything down anyway, and you just kind of not burn through, but you got to work through some of that initial distance. But the more you stay calm and the more you truly show your sincerity, and now that we go year after year after year, we can build in some of these relationships, the more then they start to open up and really tell you what they're dealing with or how we can be praying for them. They do know and love that we bring notebooks and we tell them, hey, we're writing this down so that our people can be praying for you. And sometimes they still are a little distant, and they say, hey, how can we be praying for you? And they'll talk about just our family in general. By all means, we'll pray for that. But then some of them will open up. And some of that's tied to why they haven't been to church, because there's this going on at home, or this with this relationship, or this health, or whatever, and things start to surface that we can engage then on a deeper level relationally, and share from our own lives how God has walked us through things like that, and connect, but also to pray over them and pray together, and so it can go in a deeper, more meaningful direction too. And so we go in open. I learned this from Miss Jean this year. I like it. So what are we doing today? She says, being open to whatever God provides. Good. So let's do it. And so we would go open. Lord, what are you going to send our way? Who are you going to send our way this week? And then watching the opportunities that he gives us so that we can respond and be faithful. And sometimes if it doesn't go in a really deep direction, that's okay too. You can still be blessed, and encourage them and move on, trusting that God is still at work, bigger than what we can see or what we're doing. So, all right, we go to Monday, please, the next day. So this day, y'all, I shouldn't have put in that top left picture. It looks like I'm trying to model. So we
Several moments.
we were on the way to the village, and there's a little city called La Campa on the way, and they have this beautiful ancient church there and a sign and some other fun stuff. So we took a picture as a group, and we threw that in. But this day, if you can read the tiny print bottom right, this day was filled with house visits in the morning and in the afternoon. Again, just trying to touch base and connect. Top row, on the right middle, if you will, that kind of bluish building, that's their church building. You may recognize that from years past. We often stand in front of it. So that's just straight on. It's a concrete building. Those are cows in front of it who just kind of wander around. Just off to the right of it was that previous picture we showed you where it just opens into this valley in the mountains. And so it is gorgeous. Top right is the first visit that we made. And you see it says Pastor Mauricio. So he works with 61 Isaiah, which is the ministry we're partnered with. He is based in Gracias, which is the base town that we stay in, but also part of his work with 61 Isaiah, he pastors a church there in Gracias, but also he connects and helps support the pastor up in the mountains in San Lucas. And so he came with us every day because he's a pastor to them, and he's respected by them. And so he's wonderful and very, very helpful. But he had us go to this one lady's house in particular. We showed up to visit one lady, and then two separate ladies showed up to just talk, and then we were able to talk and encourage them. So you see top right, it says Juana. She's actually Doña Juana, which is a sign and a title of great respect. And we found out not only what she was going through, she had some serious issues that we got to pray with and encourage her, but we also found out that she held Pastor Mauricio when he was an infant. So she's been around and knows him and is respected in the community, which is really great. Bottom middle picture, you see a woman in yellow named Nelda and her little girl Lisette. Again, they're just neighbors who just happened to wander over to see what was going on, but also she similarly had been dealing with things and carrying things. And we were able to reach out to her and to talk and to share the love of Christ with her. And one of you had kind of a special connection. Did any of you want to share the connection with Nelda? And what we got to talk about with her?
Yeah, really, it says it up there. She had some type of illness, and we didn't know what the illness was. And truly, sometimes we ask, and sometimes we don't. And it just seemed like this wasn't the time to necessarily ask.
And they don't always know. The
Right,
doctors are
they may
far
not
away,
know.
and they don't have
Right.
a proper diagnosis.
Right, yeah. But we kind of talked about, we're not even really sure that she was in good relations with the other two ladies, which is fine, but they allowed her to come and allowed her to be there with her daughter. And we invited her, she was in tears at one point just about, whenever we asked, how can we pray for you? She kind of she broke down a little bit, and I think she realized, that we really do care about you. And so one of the things that really struck me about her was we were talking about church somehow and going to church and everything. And we talked about how church is for everyone and we're all sinners. And, so anyone can go to church and that's okay. And one of her questions to the translator was, I'm a sinner? And so I don't know if she truly knew that and knew that she had been saved, or I don't know, and then just thought, well, after that I'm washed from my sins, so I'm really not a sinner anymore. Or I don't really know exactly where that came from, but that just struck me and kind of hit my heart, where I was just like, okay, I want her to know the truth about Jesus, and I want her, regardless of where she is. Like I said, we didn't ask her a whole lot of more probing questions at the time just because of the situation and stuff, but we invited them to come to church, and she brought her daughter to the children's time, and then they did end up leaving before the church service, but I thought, you know what, that was something. And so she's one that I will definitely be praying for this year, but that just struck me as interesting. I don't know, we didn't ever really find out if she had a husband or not, or
Some are,
we didn't find out all that.
so some of her story was kind of clouded. Some of it is language related, and some of it is cultural related, and some of it is just personal and private. We didn't want to bring it up in front of everyone. But the unique thing that we recognized was God's hand. Again, she just was a neighbor who just happened to show up while we were visiting a church member. And she needed help. She needed prayer. She needed encouragement. She needed the gospel. I think her background religiously is kind of just culturally quasi-Catholic. So there's some kind of church religious kind of stuff back somewhere in her past, but none of it was real or meaningful. And so we were talking and had been sharing the story of Zacchaeus and how Christ calls, and Christ came to seek and to save the lost and to love sinners and who Jesus is and what the gospel's about. We literally had just been sharing the story, and she's looking at it like it's the first time she's ever heard it and was like blown away. But here, I don't know if I can speak for you, but I think I can. We call that a children's story, right? We teach our kids that, but it's good and powerful and important. But to meet someone who had no frame of reference for it and was like rightfully blown away by the goodness of Jesus and what it means to be a sinner. And we're like, we didn't even show up thinking we're going to meet you, but the Lord brought you to us, and then we got to share with you and pray over you and encourage you. So really, really neat opportunity that we got to have at that first visit. That bottom left picture is just more kind of scenery in the village. Again, they're in the mountains, and they have just like little spots that they've carved out for their homes, and then it's just beautiful vegetation or their farm all around it, that kind of thing. So, will you go to the next slide, ma'am, please? I don't think that one was. So this is the rest. This is the lunch. Top left is us eating at a little village not far from our village called San Manuel, and this is a restaurant that we stopped and ate. You can't tell, but that's the whole team there. And then the two of our main translator, Pastor Mauricio, is in the bottom right. Directly behind him was one of our translators named Emily. She was fantastic. And in the very back middle is our translator, David, and he's great too. And the rest of that is our team. And then if y'all want to talk, because I wasn't at these visits, I was at different visits, the top two pictures. Yeah, Gene and Sonny, y'all want to speak to those visits? And especially talk to them about Austin and what happened there.
Okay, so the second picture over from the top, Austin's mom, Lesbia, just as a get to know you, she was making corn tortillas when we walked in. So she's like, no, I'll stop. Y'all come in, and just invited us in. She was very welcoming. And as we got to know each other, she got more comfortable. She said, do y'all know how to make corn tortillas? And we said, no. Do you want to make some? Like, yes, we would love that. And I told everybody, we made them so happy, they just laughed and laughed.
Did they eat y'all's tortillas?
They did set
Kind
them
of put
aside.
them aside. These are special ones from our guests. Give them to the chickens or something, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, so Lesbia's mom is Miriam there, and she's the one we originally came to visit. She's a faithful believer. She can't walk to church. I don't know if you have any picture of roads there, but they're all dirt roads, and they're just up and down, and so she's got severe arthritis. She can't walk to church anymore, so the church has to come to her. So we did. The little boy beside her, his name is Austin. Austin is 9 years old. And, we were there visiting, and Austin comes cruising in, and he said, oh, y'all were here last year. Lots of Spanish words, and the translator said, I think the Fullens were here last year and gave him a Bible. Like, the Fullens were here last year. And so he came, and he went and got his Bible, and he showed it to us, and it was one of those, the very cheapest kind of paper Spanish Bible you could get. But in the back, there was a reading plan, and you put a little tick marks by the passage that you read for that day, and it was just littered with little things that he had read in his Bible. Mm-hmm. And so we asked him, well, what's your favorite Bible verse, Bible story? Tell us something about that you've learned in your Bible. And he said, my favorite Bible chapter is Psalms 91. So he read Psalms 91 to us. And, it was was just super encouraging that he was reading and studying his Bible, and that was something that I think the Fullens gave to him last year. It was a little fuzzy in Spanish, but I think that's what was going on.
Yeah.
Then later on in the conversation, we said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And he goes, "Well, a pastor, of course. I want to be a pastor." So Austin is the one, and then his picture's up close. How old is Austin? Austin is 9 years old. He and his buddy Henry Jr. But Austin wants to be a pastor, so I'm going to pray for him this year. And then we went next door to Ana Patricia and Juan. So Ana Patricia, Henry Jr., and Juan. So Ana Patricia's husband has been in the U.S. illegally for 3 years. So he has never met his son Juan. She's living next door to her in-laws. So her in-laws are the ones above, Marian and Lesbia. So they're next door, and Henry Jr. and Austin are cousins, and they play together. So while we were visiting with them, Austin and Henry came with their little treat. So you can see Henry has some sort of little candy thing that he has, and Austin showed up with what looked like a wasp nest. And it was just paper and, with all the little holes in it, and it looks like, well, that's kind of weird. And he was like, yeah, it's good. And he was eating, it's like there's bits or remnants of honey or something in it. And he tried to share it with me, and I'm like, dude, I'm not eating, I'm not eating that.
Yeah.
But anyway, just the poverty there is really extreme. And they're struggling, just day to day with their lives and with drama of, fathers and husbands that are far away and they haven't seen in years. And so we just need to pray for them.
They have a lot of challenges, and one of the things, side note, that 61 Isaiah emphasizes, one of their kind of 5 core values, is breaking cycles of poverty. And we've talked about this before, so I won't get fully into it tonight. But there's different types of poverty, right? We often think kind of financial, and that is a type of poverty, and they do have that, a lot of them. They have family that has come to the States by various means, just desperate to send money to support their family. But also there's relational poverty, there's educational poverty, there's spiritual poverty, there's all these levels and types of poverty that the ministry and the pastors are trying to address. And they're not quick fixes, and we know this. And so getting to come alongside them, again, get to know their stories as they share some personal details so that we can pray and support and encourage them makes a huge difference. And so they're happy and they're joyful, but facing really severe challenges in a lot of different ways. So.
And the one thing about this home that we saw was that it was truly a Christian home, a believer's home, because I'm not sure who, but somebody asked us what our favorite Bible verse after Austin had read. And so several took turns, and Austin, he would thumb through that Bible. It might take him a little time, but he found the scripture. He knew. Grandma shared her scripture. So
Yeah.
it was just obvious that this wasn't just a little something to impress us from last year. They truly had their Bible in their family, and they were reading it.
Yeah. It's encouraging.
This is not a place with a lot of readers. 9-year-old that read that well was
Yeah. Okay. We go to the next slide, to Tuesday, I think it is. Oh, there's a better, I was trying to give a better picture so y'all can see the team and our translators, because again, they were absolutely fantastic. Person in the back left by the refrigerator, I have no idea who that is, so don't worry about her. All right, next photo, or next slide. Oh, this is the rest of Monday. So they went back, their team. So Ethan was with me, wasn't he? Sonny and Jean came back to the church because they were done with their visits. And so the girl on the top right is Kiara. She works for 61 Isaiah.
stuck in the mud.
Well, I was going to get to that. So,
Yeah.
so they had some free time to hang out with some of the local kids who remember us every year. And they are just full of energy and joy, and they are so playful. And they just had a burn time because our group, we were not driving, in our defense, got ambitious trying to make a house visit and went up a road that wasn't a road, and it had been raining all day, and so we got stuck. And so we made a visit, and I felt so not worthless, just not useful. All the men just disappeared. I'm like, where are all the guys? She's talking to the mother of the house, and they're cooking and doing things, and I'm just sitting in the corner because all the men went outside to get the truck out of the mud. And I was like, should I go help them? I'm just going to get in the way, and they're all going to be too nice to say anything. So you know what? Let me be mature, and let me just stay in the house. So that's what happened. And they got it out. They came back muddy and just happy in the truck. I don't know how they turned it around, but they turned it around, and we got back.
What was so good about that was we had tried to go and visit the mom. So some of the leaders of the church that you saw,
Adonai and David from earlier.
their mom was in this house, which was actually David's house, wasn't it?
Mhm.
I think it's David's house. And David is the drummer in the church, and he's the leader of the church.
Keyboard player, and yeah.
Keyboard. But we had planned to go see her. For some reason, I don't know why, we didn't get a chance to go see her, maybe the day before, and she happened to be there. And so they had asked us to go and visit with her, and so we're sitting there, and we were like, okay, well, let's talk to her, you know? And so we had, our interpreter Emily was there with us, and so she offered us coffee and told us why she was at David's house instead of her house, and there was construction going on there, and of course it's pouring down rain, you know, and those poor guys are out there trying to get the truck out, but we had a very good conversation with her, and you know, I was asking her, well, do you go and visit this church, you know, at all? And she said, no, she doesn't, but two of her sons are church leaders there, and it's not very far away. I'm thinking, okay, and so she goes a ways away to another church, and so they were hoping, you know, they're kind of hoping to get her to their church at some point, but
She had a complicated connection with it because her husband, who has passed away, was like a lifetime member at this other church, and her sons helped at this current church that we're connected with. So out of honor for her husband, she loves and supports what her boys do and is so proud of them, but she stays where her husband went. And so, but she's still very open to the church coming by. The pastor still visits her anyway, so she doesn't, you know, kind of disappear. So
yeah, she was telling us
Good
about
connection.
how she keeps her grandkids for a little while, right after they get out of school and stuff
Yeah.
there, apparently. But it was a nice visit. We still had, you know, a good visit, and you know, what God had intended, you know, or what they had, you know, hoped to get done, we still
yeah,
had that
it worked out.
intervention with her. So
It all
that was
worked
nice.
out just fine. For the sake of time, let's keep moving. We've got just a couple of days left. Let's go to Tuesday, the next slide. So Tuesday was split into kind of two main sections. In the morning, if you can kind of tell, that top middle, the right, and actually the background photo is at the school. So 61 Isaiah does not run a school, but they partner with and they help do a lot of leadership and staffing at a private school, Abundant Life Christian School in Gracias. And so their kind of handprints are all over it, and they're very, very supportive of it. And it's an excellent school. And so it's kids from the community. They are raised English and Spanish and in faith. And so they're taught Bible. They have chapel. Whether they are receptive to it or not, it's presented to them. And again, part of breaking cycles of poverty is education and is raising up the next generation of leaders who know the Lord and they can go make a difference in their community and across their nation. And while there was another church from Tig, Texas, who was there with us, and so they did a tour with us. But Sonny and I, and there's not a picture of this, because I wanted to take a picture, but it would have been super awkward to stop what we were doing just so I could look like a tourist and take a picture. But Sonny and I had already had the tour in previous years, and so when we showed up, we actually got to go into one of the classrooms with seniors, and there were 3 seniors of all the class, of their graduating class, who hadn't done some final assignments or whatever, and so they were having to stay after, kind of like detention, and they had a special assignment where they had been studying through Revelation, of all things, and they had to write a letter to a friend as if they were living in Revelation times, and how would they explain the gospel in the midst of tribulation. And so they then brought in the teacher, which is Shannon, who's the founder and director of 61 Isaiah, brought Sonny and I in, and we didn't know what we were showing up for. He just dropped us in the class and said, hey, I have to take a phone call. Will you tell them? Answer the question on the board. Tell them how you would answer this. So Sonny and I literally had the opportunity with these 3 high school kids that we had never met before to directly and clearly share the gospel. And it was remarkable, and I loved it. So we got to take turns and then go back and forth with them. Like, what do you think? How would you answer? Does this make sense to you? Beyond just an assignment, like what speaks to you about this? What really matters about this? And we got to share our faith and why the Bible means something to us and who Jesus is. You can speak to this. I don't know like how receptive they were. I mean, they listened out of respect, but I don't know truly in the moment how deeply it landed. But I do know that God gave us an opportunity, and we got to twice share for like 20, 30 minutes, just the gospel.
So when we started, the attitude was, I'm in detention and you're my punishment.
Yeah. Which is a great start for us to come cold into a room. Yeah.
So they were, but by the end, they were super friendly. They shook our hands and they thanked us as they left. But Shannon told us they're unbelievers. They're not believers.
Yeah. And so they're.
So I have on the prayer here and at the prayer at the end, I've got let's pray for those by name.
Yeah. So we got to do that, and then this. I'll let Deborah speak about this. That picture on the left there is a woman that we had met last year and got to visit, and Deborah had really hoped to get to see her again and follow up on that visit. So do you want to talk about that just for a moment? And we'll use the mic so the people online can watch or hear.
So this was Juanita, and last year when we went, we visited mostly, as far as we spoke, mostly to her husband. He was there, and so Pastor Lucio took us there. It was not easy to get there last year because it was kind of like we had to go up this hill and through this, and I don't know. It was tough. But so the reason that she wasn't really out and talking to us was because she had they have 3 children, and the youngest there standing in front of her, he was sick. And like I said, we don't know what was going on. We don't know if he had a cold or what, but I guess she felt like she couldn't come out and visit. And so I had been praying for her and just for the family. Her husband's name is Aniel. And so that's how we got stuck in the mud. We were thinking we were going to her house, and actually it turned out we were going a little bit too far. But Pastor Lucio, before our children's time, we were able to go up there, and he took us up there. And her husband wasn't there, but she told us that he had a new job in the town close by on a bus, doing something with the bus company and stuff like that. And so, which is good because that brings money into the household, and it's consistent. So that's a good thing, because a lot of the farmers, I feel like some of them, they don't really have consistent income. Well, they're all farmers pretty much, but I don't know if he doesn't farm anymore or not. So he does both. So anyway, but so when we walked in, she didn't really remember us, which is fine. That was okay. But she was making tortillas, and so after just talking to her a little bit, she said, I kind of remember y'all a little bit, and and she offered to let us come in and make tortillas, which that was epic fail, but she showed me how to really make them nice and round and stuff, but it was good. And then, the kids, I think the older daughter may have remembered us more than anything, and they probably remembered Aaron, because they love his hair, actually. I thought who doesn't really? But no, but so it was good. I just felt like, touching base with her. She still doesn't really go to church. The kids don't go to church, but we offered to have them come, and they didn't come. But that's okay. They said they would, actually, but they ended up not coming. But it was raining too, so anyway, and it's a tough trek to their house. So I just felt like God was wanting us to make some contacts and building those relationships again. That's one of the reasons why we're there. And so I felt like that was important for us to be able to see her if we could. So
yeah, absolutely.
That was a good time, though.
Okay. We go to the next slide. So this is the afternoon on Tuesday. And so we had a children's event, which they'd asked us to do last year. And so we were ready for it this year. And we structured it in 3 main sections. The top left, I'm leading the Bible story. And I gave them the story where Jesus heals the paralytic, and his friends brought him to Jesus and lowered him down. So I had the kids act it out and talk about Jesus has the power to forgive sins and to heal bodies. And so they were really receptive, and then we got to play a bunch of games. You see bottom right there, we had a parachute, and Deborah led them in some parachute games. The sweet kid bottom left was really, really good kid, and he came every day that we were there. Top right, some little girls, I think they're fingernail painting. And then I got to preach. After all that, I got to preach again that evening. Some of the children's event became especially difficult because we planned on at least half of it being outside because there's this beautiful field we can play in and let kids go crazy. And it just rained the entire time, so we were all stuck inside.
That was the chaos Sonny
It was.
talking about.
High energy, but good. And some of it we burned through
fine
our
with it.
plan probably way too fast, and so we just had to adjust, and we did, and it ended up working out really, really well.
That was good.
Any other comments on this before we go to the next slide? All right, if you go to the next one. So this is the next day. This is Wednesday. We started the morning by going out to the farm. You'll see here in just a second some more pictures of the farm and what they offer, and I'll touch on that briefly. But the main reason we go out to the farm, we're not helping on the farm, is because there's a radio station out there, and we do this every single year. So without fail, no matter what else might happen or not happen on a trip, you will have at least one opportunity to share the gospel. And each of us take turns and with the translator on the radio, and it broadcasts not just to the region, but they have people all around the world that can log in and listen. We get to share our testimonies. So we each take turns and get to share it, which is really fun and fantastic. If you'll go to the next slide. This is more of the farm, top left. That's Deborah posing very candidly in front of one of their coffee trees. And so they grow coffee. They're starting to grow chocolate. The middle picture, you can't really tell. You just have to come in person and see for yourself. These are 4 ponds, and they kind of rotate them for various agricultural reasons, but they can grow tilapia, and then they can sell it at the market. But also they can teach and experiment with some agricultural practices that local people may not be able to out of fear of, like, if it doesn't work, we're out of luck. Well, the farm can afford to take risks and try new things and teach new methods and practices. So there's some of that there. The picture on the right, those 2 buildings, they built a dormitory. So not only can they have seasonal workers come in and have a place to stay, but also bring their families in so that they can stay faithful and encourage relationships and in the home better, because it's troubling how often marriage relationships, if the husband is kind of like a seasonal worker in different places, he will step out on his wife at all these opportunities and come back. And so having the wife get to be there is a really excellent practical solution, but also they get to have pastor conferences. So the different pastors in the villages that they connected with several times throughout the year, they'll bring them all in and they'll do trainings and development with them, and they can house them and their families there. Bottom left there, I was trying to take a picture a little bit. You see the pond in the background. They have a windmill. They have a chicken tractor, so they have chickens, and then a shed and some other things there. Some goats you don't see. The bottom middle picture is the radio station itself, and the farm extends back behind that. So just so you have a little bit of a visual of what that looks like. You'll go to the next slide. We're nearing the end. So that afternoon, we had kind of some downtime and some free time. So top left, this year they took us to some hot springs, which were actually really, truly hot.
What is that picture?
That picture disappeared. That picture of me that y'all put in. I don't know what happened between what you gave me and what I put in the system. Funny how that works. So bottom left is us posing with David because he works for 61 Isaiah, but also he has his own farm and grows coffee and is now at a place where he is selling it. And so we bought some of his coffee, and it is fantastic. It is so good. Middle picture, we got ice cream, and I had Jean pose with her ice cream. I don't know what you're talking about. So then the other thing I'm pointing, they took us up to this overlook. Again, it's scenic and it is beautiful. And they took us to this really, really high point. And this is like an outcropping that's not super safe. So I'm just pointing at the danger. I'm not jumping into the danger. But this afternoon, it had been a long week, so they kind of let us relax and spend some just good quality time with each other and with some of their staff. If we go to the next slide, we're rounding up here towards the end. So I'm not going to read all this necessarily tonight, but we have access. The picture on the left, I think, are church members that they have, kind of their role, but also people they're praying for. And the list on the right, and if you're curious for this list, we can get it to you. These are things that we kind of pull together throughout the week of people and situations that we want to be praying for moving forward and that we told them we will be praying for. So as you see, there are a lot of needs there, and most of them, as you see, are relational. And so they're people, not just situations, but people that we've met who are going through things. And some of them are spiritual, some of them are relational, some of them are physical, all these sorts of things. But really, really good opportunities for us to pray and to follow up next year. It's really, really neat, the opportunity that we have to meet people, to start building a relationship, and then to come back the next year and ask, hey, last year I was here, you told me about this, and I've been praying. What's been going on? And to see their faces, how touched they are, that we know and we remember and we care, but also on our end to see how the Lord works and how he's worked through our prayers when we don't get to be there every day and see what he's doing. All right, let's go to the very last slide. So for next year, I want to put some things on you to be thinking and praying about. This is for all of us as a church. The first thing for us to be praying about is pray for workers for the harvest. So the shirt I'm wearing tonight, you've seen me wear before, 938. It's a 61 Isaiah shirt for their ministry, and they pray every day, twice a day at 9:38, and it's based on this passage in Matthew 9, where Jesus talks about, pray to the Lord of the harvest. The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Pray to the Lord of the harvest that he might send workers. And so part of it I want you to consider to be praying, yes, for God to send people, whether they're from our church or not, that God send workers into the harvest. Be praying for our church and the people that we send, but also be praying about if God is calling you to be one of the workers who goes. So a lot of different opportunities to send or to even go yourself. I want to ask y'all to be praying between now and next year as we prepare to go again, and what that looks like and how to do that well, the timing of things, the development of the team that ends up going, the training that we do with the team before we go. There's a lot that goes into it, so pray for that process. And then lastly, I want you to pray about, truly and sincerely, about if God is calling you to go with us, because I think he is. I don't know who it is. I'm hoping to keep building on the teams that we've had, and some of it, we've had some overturn each year, and that's for a lot of different reasons. But if you can come with us and then keep coming with us, it makes a difference. And this is my final pitch, and I'm going to let y'all have kind of a final say or any thoughts. So Sonny and I have had the chance. We've gone every year so far, from our very first vision trip, then to each trip beyond that. And the very first year was me, Eli, and Sonny with a couple other churches who were just exploring if this is an option. So that trip was kind of different on its own. But then following up that next year, it was just me and Sonny from our church and one of my best friends who used to be a missionary in Honduras. And then the next year, we built on that. We brought more people from our church. And what was so encouraging and exciting is we had women join us. This was last year. And so Deborah came last year. Leanne came last year. Sarah Fullen came last year. And to get to see the difference that made on our team in a positive way, the dynamic, how it changed, and then how we were able to do more ministry because of who God brought with us. Sonny and I can only do so much and go so far. As men, we don't connect or relate well necessarily to women. We are not women, but having a woman on the team, having a woman making a home visit with you, it is remarkable how much more the women open up and are willing to talk, willing to engage, willing to connect, and then watching our women love and support and encourage in ways that I wouldn't have even known or thought of, right? And so then this year, similarly, God knows who he sends. And he equips who he sends. And so this year, we had a range of ages. We had a 17-year-old, right? We have men, we had women, we have people who've been before. We've had people who've been just once before. We had brand new people. And God used every single one of them. Different personalities, different backgrounds, different experiences. And God used all of them in specific ways. It was no accident that this team went to this place this year. And I got to see, so as a pastor, my heart was so full watching at the worship service, or watching in a home visit, Deborah stepping up and making connections, or Jean, or Sonny, or Ethan, each in their own way as God empowered and led them to be a blessing. So no one just showed up and just was like on the trip. All of them were workers in the harvest that God is preparing. So I want to encourage you to, if you sincerely are interested, even if it's just interested, come talk to me or come talk to one of us and ask whatever questions you have. There are very real challenges that people have to deal with. It might hold them back from going, but I can guarantee you almost all of them we would be able to overcome or to work through. So I don't want you to unnecessarily remove yourself from how God might use you to reach the world. So that's all I've got. Do you have anything else you want to add? Nothing? Y'all got anything else you want to add? Any final thoughts or stories?
Of course, I talk all the time.
Okay. You can share one. Yeah.
I wore this shirt because it says, "Come walk with us." And that's one thing I do want to encourage you. Like I said, I appreciate the support that our church, gives the people that go abroad, but you're just as much a part of the team as we are, truly, because we might not be able to do it otherwise without you. So, and the prayer that was put into it, like we said, I heard a couple of different people. I mean, all of us believe that there was stuff set up for us before we even got there. And truly, there's only 2 teams that ever go to San Lucas, right? So yeah, it's us and another team coming later, but so it's not like there's a team that comes every week or anything like that. So, but really and truly, thank you for everything. And if you even think about wanting to come, I was telling Aaron, I truly have, I'm glad that we went, that we were able to go as women, because I have a heart for the women there, and a lot of times their husbands are gone. You know, we came across 2 different families that their husbands were here in America, and they said for 5 years or more. I can't imagine. So, I mean, just so you know, I mean, they really are going through some stuff, and I have a heart for them, and they're taking care of their families and stuff. But come walk with us. Doesn't take much. So, anyway.
It was just a super special time, and you never get too old to go on a mission trip. And it was a good, just enjoyable time. I think even on our trips up the mountain and down the mountain, and he said it was about an hour, but truthfully it was closer to an hour and a half. There's just a lot of good conversation that was going on in our automobiles. We were in at least 2 automobiles every time, so our team was divided up with some of the local people, interpreters. And the conversation most of the time centered around the Lord or Scripture or your thoughts on some aspect that was happening. So a lot of growing for, I think, each and every one of us. I know I grew a lot on this trip.
All right, I have one final question for the team. I want you to answer here before the people of God and the Lord himself with full honesty. Who amongst us on the team is the best Uno player?
It's not me.
It's not me.
It's me. So the power was out one night after dinner, so we had dinner by candlelight at the hotel, and we're just sitting around burning time, hoping power came back on. And Deborah's like, hey, it's a short story, I promise. She's like, hey, I got this Uno deck. Do y'all want to play? We're like, sure, team building. Why not? Let's burn time. And if y'all don't know Miss Jean, she is the sweetest human being on the face of the planet. Unfortunately, she sat to my left. And so I would have these cards, and I would say, Miss Jean, this brings me no pleasure, but I need you to draw 4, and draw 2, and draw 4 more. And anyway, team building, and it's worth it, and it's fun, and she was very sweet, and she didn't hold it against me. She smiled, I don't know on the inside, but on the outside, she was not a sore sport.
I cut him off the next day when we were walking down the path.
This is true. So anyway, it's worth going. It's a hard trip in some ways, but it's so worth it. And again, what the Lord does through what we get to do there, but amongst us as a team, it's mutually beneficial and is a blessing, and God is glorified. So.
You know we have other pictures of you, right?
I don't know. Do y'all have any questions tonight? Any questions about our trip or future trips? Any thoughts?
That trip from the airport up there, they come pick you up?
Yes. So when we land in San Pedro Sula, they pick us up at the airport. Once we're there, and they even arranged all the flights and the travel in. Once we're there, they take care of us. We're never on our own to figure it out. We always have someone with us from their team, and then someone that speaks Spanish. And so they pick us up at the airport. We usually eat somewhere either at the airport or somewhere nearby, and then we travel down to Gracias. It gets better and better every year. There's more and more and better roads each year. But yeah, they take us and they provide. And then some of us, like Deborah, got to drive this year, but we always have one of them with us regardless.
We got separated a little bit one time because Jean had to show her superhero powers, and so
Those scarves?
The scarves were flying out of the back of the truck, so I pulled over. She's like, oh, wait, I'll go get them. And she runs and jumps in the back of the truck and gets them all. I was like, Jean.
We had been carrying the supplies for the kids' camp that we did, and we forgot to package all of them well, and so we're driving down the road, and a bag of scarves just catch wind and go trailing out, and Jean hops out and goes and chases them down in traffic and jumps back in. So That's why we brought her for those specific things. So. Any other thoughts or questions tonight? Oh. Okay. Yes, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, okay. The population? Oh, so like in the village. So the town that we're in, where our hotel, where we stay, we spend the night, and then we go out to the village every day, and we always come back to the hotel, which is in Gracias. Do you know how big Gracias is? And it's growing. Do you remember, did they give us a hard number? It's, the city that we're in is modern enough. I mean, it looks different than where we live, but they're people. It's very, very modern. The village is different because it's up in the mountains, and it's more secluded and remote, and more kind of traditional in a lot of ways, and kind of behind in a lot of ways, and it's much smaller and more tight-knit. I would say, do y'all remember hard numbers?
Isn't there only the one church except for the?
There I think there are like 2.5 churches. The church that we partner with, another one that I think is Catholic, and then a separate one that kind of tried to start as an offshoot but didn't get very far. But I think the village, do you remember?
I would guess about 300 people maybe in the
At
village.
most, yeah.
So Sunday night we probably there might have been 40 or 50 people, so there's a lot more people this Sunday night. Now after the kids' day, the midweek service, there was a lot less. On their regular Monday or Sunday night service, there was quite a few people, more than we
And we were told that the church in our village that we partner with is more well attended than other villages that they partner with. So that's not good or bad. That just is. Yeah. Good question. Any others tonight? Okay. Well, thank you for praying for us. Thank you for sending us and supporting us on this trip all across the board. So it was worth it, and we look forward to going again next year. Thank y'all. Y'all can have a seat. Okay.